Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Can you guys hear me from the back? Just make sure everything is okay. Okay, since it's a workshop, it's a hands-on base, so we don't need everybody. If you have the laptop ready, connect to the Wi-Fi. There is a Wi-Fi code and the SSID over there. And then shortly, I will instruct you guys how to connect to AWS cloud. It's not using your own AWS account. We are going to provide you the access. So, and once you guys started the lab, because we're going to today's session, we'll talk about secure EKS containers with Falco. And first of all, thank you for joining us today. I am very happy to be here. My name is Yongkang. You guys can see I'm fully certified on Kubernetes. I just love Kubernetes. And I also love multi-cloud. So I'm also certified on top 5 public cloud. And security, also my top focus. I'm 6 times security certified. I don't have a job right now, okay? So I'm actually actively looking for some other job. My recent community work is I'm a eks-casa global ambassador. So most of the time, since I lost my job in November, I just doing more community work. So this is part of my work, actually. I do love to learn and share what I learn. Okay, feel free to connect to me via any one of the links here. I also have my YouTube video channel, also pretty popular, everything about Kubernetes. Let's get started. Any question? No question, all good? Yeah, you don't need a certification to find a job, but when you have more certification, you might have lost your job. Just kidding. Okay, so we don't need an EKS cluster before we can deploy Falco to the EKS cluster to protect the containers. So the first of, we need you guys to access the link. It's a short link, Falco guide, okay? Falco guide, Kubernetes user group. Can you guys see? Yeah, and it's a OneDrive PDF document. So I'm going to open the document right now as well. Actually, I should already have one open here. So you should be able to see a document similar like this. Yeah, first of all, I need to thank to my, oh, actually, you guys can't see it. Let me move this screen here. Yeah, let me know if you guys can open the PDF document. So basically, we'll follow the PDF document to create the EKS cluster before we're going to deploy Falco to the EKS cluster. The reason I want to do this first is the EKS cluster, it does take about 20 minutes to launch. So after we kick off the creation of the EKS cluster, I will start to talk a little bit more, okay? So once you open up the document, you should be able to see, yeah, first of all, I need to thank to my friends at AWS, Desmond. He provisioned the lab for us to use. And he's so nice. Typically, we're not going to give you everybody access like more than 2 hours because the whole session only 2 hours, right? And this time he's so nice. He gave us 3 days access. So literally you can try all different all different AWS services, not limited to only Kubernetes. You can try any other AWS services as well. Okay. So once you are here, what you can do is you just click this link. Everyone uses the same link. So once you click the link, it will launch a new tab. That's where we access the AWS Web Console. And when you are here, so basically, if you want to follow the documentation, I got the detailed step by step. If you follow me, it's okay as well. So once you are here, you should already have the hash ID pre-populated. And then we just click the accept. and you will be asked to, you got a few options. I'm not a part of AWS, so ignore the bottom option. I can choose any one of these. So if you do have an Amazon retail account, you can choose the middle one. Otherwise, you just use email your one-time password. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I just choose to use my Amazon.com account. I mean Amazon.com account. So I log in. So if you choose to use one-time password, it will send you an email with the password. Okay. And once you log in, you will be at this screen. So once you log in, you should be able to see this screen. So this is very important here. Click AWS console. And before you click the open console, make sure you take a copy here. So this is a copy button. Can you guys see? Over here, this is a copy button. So you copy this and then click open console. Okay, are you guys all with me? Yeah, click open console. And then it will log into AWS web console directly. There is no password or ask anything else. And then once you are here, what we need to do is you click the AWS Cloud Shell icon. You guys can see over here, just next to the search box. Click the launch the Cloud Shell. No, don't make sure you are not changing the region. Okay. So for the whole lab, we build the lab from a Sydney region. That's AP Southeast too. We're not going to change. It won't work from any other region. Okay. So let's stick with the region. And once you log into the Cloud Shell, so you might skip this. Yeah, you are logged into the Cloud Shell. Hopefully you guys are all with me. And once you are here, so if you go back to the documentation, so AWS account setup. So we are now at page, which page? Should be the page 5. I think that's page 5, yes. Page 5. So you already opened the Cloud Shell. The first thing you need to do is you need to paste the command, which we copied earlier. So you paste the command. You can untick this box. Otherwise, it keeps asking you paste and press enter. So we need to set all these environment variables. So for us to get access permissions. So once you've done this step, if I go back to the documentation, the next step we need to do is run the git clone. So copy the whole line. Okay, copy the whole line and then paste to the Cloud Shell. So once you paste it here, press enter. So what we are going to do is we are going to clone the repository from my GitHub page. It's publicly available from GitHub. If you want, you can verify, you can check the source code, etc. So when you are here, the next step is step 4. So we are now at step 4. So that's this command. We're going to change to the directory. We're going to run the AWS prep command, then set the environment variables. So paste the command here, press enter. What we are doing here is we need to install the related tools like eks-CTO, kubectl. These tools are required for us to create the EKS cluster, for us to access the Kubernetes EKS cluster. So once you run the command finish, it will say you are ready to deploy. Now we need to run the next command. If you go back to the documentation page, so you can see the next step is you copy the whole command here. So now we are here at the deploy and build the EKS cluster. So you run /ee copy and paste to the terminal and press enter. So now we are ready to go. So it takes about 15 minutes, sometimes it's typically about 20 minutes. Well, sorry, I missed the question. Sorry, what we internally tested the background? In the background, we are actually launching 2 cloud formation stack. So we will first of all to create the EKS control plane. And once the EKS control plane is ready, we're going to launch the node group. So basically, if you, at this point, if you log into the cloud formation, you open a new tab, you can see there is 2 cloud formation stacks. But it's once the first finishes, launch the next one. It's part of, I was using the EKS CTO, that's the tool, we are going to create the EKS cluster. Part of the command, once you launch the command, it will, behind of the scene, it will create a 2 cloud formation stack. So in technically about 20 minutes, the cluster will be ready. So now I will come back to the slide. So make sure you already started to create the cluster, okay? And you do need to come back to click somewhere. Otherwise, after 20 minutes, the Cloud Shell will be export timeout, okay? And remember, if the Cloud Shell is timed out, you need to copy and paste the environment variables again, because all these settings will be gone. Yeah? Are we all good? Yeah, we already launched the EKS. Yeah, this is very important before we continue. Okay, now let's continue. So I will talk a little bit, yeah, no more than 20 minutes. Yeah, just waiting for the cluster ready, okay? So what is Falco? Have you guys heard of Falco? Or are you guys using? Yeah? Yes, yes. So basically it's an open source project. The Falco project that you can see here. Falco is the cloud runtime, cloud native runtime security. It's the de facto Kubernetes threat detection engine. And you can see from, maybe it's hard for you guys to see from the back. So basically the idea is use Falco to detect the threats at runtime by observing the behavior of your applications and the containers. It is constantly running, monitoring your system. And then with the Falco plugin, allow you to integrate with some other, for example, you want to leverage the AWS Cloud Trail to detect some problems. It can be integrated with AWS Cloud as well. But for today's focus, we just focus on the Kubernetes cluster. So Falco was here, you can see it talk to the system via the Linux system calls. So literally capture every syscalls and detect if any abnormal activities. And then with the filter engine, rule engine defined, it will flag out if there is a problems and send the output to, could be any one of the output, could be just output to a file, could be you want to syslog integration or maybe Splunk or any other tools you guys are using, could be like a Slack or Teams or PagerDuty. So there is no limitation to allow it to integrate with any other systems. And it was widely used. I think they talk about 48 million downloads. Okay, that's a lot, right? That a lot of people using Falco to detect the container threats. And did you guys know the Falco, when a CNCF, when it was initially accepted by CNCF, it was called sandbox project. And then depend on the maturity and also adoption level, it will move to a different stage. It's called incubating. And finally, it will becoming the graduated project. So back to November, they submitted the proposal for Falco to graduate. So hopefully shortly it will become a graduated project. Okay, it depends. That means it is more mature, a lot of adoptions by the customers. So where the falco was running. So prevention is not enough. So typically all of the companies that deploy all different security solutions to prevent the attacks, but it's not enough. That's where you need the runtime security software to detect the threats. So Falco, you see the little icon here, is running in the kernel space and also running from the containers or running from the Kubernetes clusters. With the plugin, it does allow you to detect the cloud activities as well. But you need a separate plugin to enable that. So on the high level, this is what Falco was used for. So first of all, runtime security for your containers, for your Kubernetes cluster. And it also allows you to detect the runtime cloud risks. Is there any suspicious activities from your cloud account? These are the cool features, part of the Falco project. And it is open source. A lot of enterprise companies, they love the open source tool. And you can contribute to the open source project as well. So how it works? So this is a large picture here comparing to the first one. You got a Falco engine running here. It talks to the Linux system via the syscalls. For the Kubernetes integration, you need to enable the Kubernetes audit logs. So basically, just read all the Kubernetes audit logs to see if there's any problems. For all different cloud providers, they do have the different integration. So for AWS, basically, it can integrate with AWS CloudTrail to capture all the events. And then based on the rule settings, it will alarm you all these different activities. And on the right-hand side, that's allow you to integrate with all different output. It can be HTTP, it can be the RPC, or just the output to a file, standard output, etc. Any questions so far? All good? Yeah, the next one is about the Falco architecture. Yeah, I wanted to spend too much time here just on the high level. Falco does require you to have a module installed to the Linux kernel. And if it wasn't installed, you can use the eBPF to access the kernel to deploy the kernel to your Linux kernel. And for AWS EKS, when you launch the cluster using the Amazon Linux, it's already being installed. So you don't have to install the separate kernel headers or kernel modules. And then with that, why you need to run it in the kernel? Anyone have an answer? Why need the Falco need to be running in the kernel? Actually, it's not just used by Falco. All the security companies, all the observability companies are running their stuff in the kernel. The reason is you can detect the threats very quickly. You can grab the metrics very fast and then present it to the user space and to the dashboard, etc. But if you're running in the user space, typically it takes a longer time for you to detect the problems. So with a module, kernel module running here, and then you got two different modules running from the user space. So one is libs cap. That is a module to capture all the different events. And then before you present it to the output channel, there is another module called inspect. So basically inspection, to do the inspection to see which one is so important, is a real threat. And then based on the event, the rule engine, it will only send out the alerts based on your settings. That's why you can get the real threats rather than, you don't want to receive everything. That's lots of different information. So with the rule engine defined, we only capture the selected critical events and then output to copy to your web console, to your any other tools you guys are using. No question? Yeah, go ahead. There shouldn't be any differences, because when you deploy, I will talk about how to deploy. What are the different ways to deploy to the Kubernetes cluster? So we are talking about a Falco running on the EKS today, but the same concept, the same procedure can be used for any other Kubernetes cluster. Okay, I will talk about it shortly. Yeah. So love demo, not really love demo. Everybody follow me to practice to do the labs. And first of all, how we are going to deploy the Falco deployment options. So you can set up a Falco on Kubernetes cluster, any Kubernetes cluster. Doesn't have to be EKS. It can be any other Kubernetes cluster. So typically, you don't require the isolation. So that means if you need the isolation, you don't prefer to run the Falco in the Kubernetes cluster. You got the Kubernetes cluster, the control plane node, the worker node, it's running on Linux typically. And the Falco can be installed on the Linux system rather than inside of the Kubernetes cluster. So in that case, there are some advantages. You do have the isolation because you are not running inside of the containers, right? You can have the isolation. You're running outside of your containers. So there are some advantages, but depends on the customer's selection. There are some pros and the cons. And for today's session, I will show you how to deploy the Falco on EKS cluster. But if you choose to, you can install Falco on Linux system. On the bottom, the control plane nodes or worker nodes. And you can also deploy Falco as a Docker containers. So there are multiple options how to deploy a Falco. Okay. So here is a lab. Actually, all of these, I do have the step-by-step inside the EKS, the documentation page. So first of all, we already logged in. We already created the EKS cluster, right? We are already here. These steps are already done. And next step, how to install Falco on EKS. So pretty simple, actually. You just add the Falco Helm chart repository, and then you do a Helm repo update, and then you run the command Helm install. So in my documentation page, I was initially copy the whole command, and then I realized when I save to the PDF, if I do the copy and then paste to the Cloud Shell, it always doesn't work because there is some extra space or remove some space, it doesn't work. So I moved this command as a simple command from the documentation page called Falco deploy. And you can find the details. If you check the script, that's exactly the same command. So basically just run the one command, you can deploy to the EKS cluster. So here is, there are some special settings. I do need to enable the Kubernetes audit settings. So the Kubernetes, the Falco configuration also by the YAML file. So without this YAML file, you actually, when you install, you're trying to check to see if you can capture the events from the container. It doesn't work, doesn't capture the details without the Kubernetes audit log enabled. Yeah. And how to test it? I deploy the Falco to the EKS cluster. I want to see if it is actually taking some actions, detect my events. So I do, in my example, I do trigger 2 events. The first one is I just exit still into the containers. It's a suspicious activity, right? So we will see if we capture these events. And the second one is I just execute to the containers. I create the binary to the bin directory. That is also pretty risky. If you put some binary, it might break your system. So these just two examples. There are a lot of other stuff will be captured by Falco. And then how to verify? You can just run kubectl logs and with a port name and the namespace details. It will display all the logs. Any questions so far? Are we all good? Yeah. It is actually running as a daemon set. You don't want to run as a daemon set. Actually, I don't know. Yeah, yeah, we need to find out from the documentation page. But based on what I know, if you deploy it to the EKS cluster, it will be running as a daemon set. But if you're running from the EKS node, the Amazon Linux machine, it's not nothing to be running from the containers. Yeah, in that case, you can deploy it to the EKS nodes. Oh yeah, using Fargate. Yeah. I don't know if ECS. You talk about the EKS Fargate. EKS Fargate, you should be able to deploy use the Helm chart. Oh, okay. I yeah. I don't know if it works. Yeah, you can give it a try. Okay, but all of these listed here, you just use a command line, right? Do you like the command line? Or you like a dashboard? Dashboard is nice, right? To show you how many threats detected. So that's why there is another stuff called falco-sidekick. So you basically create a nice dashboard to give you some more easy to see what's happening. So how to do it? So by default, the web UI service IP, it's the cluster IP. You guys know the cluster IP, and cluster IP, basically you can only access it from inside of the clusters. For me, I want to access it from my laptop. I want the internet access, so I need to patch the cluster IP to LoadBalancer. I just run this command to patch the cluster IP to LoadBalancer. So behind the scene, we're going to create the Amazon, the Elastic LoadBalancer. And then we will have the service IP. I can access it from the internet. But you can further down to restrict the access to only your laptop, like the security groups settings, etc. Yeah. And then with the next command, we're going to just print you the URL. How to access the Sidekick web UI. So in this case, I deployed, use the command, I deployed to the cluster. I enabled the Sidekick web UI. So all the outputs will be presented from the web UI. But for the customer's real production environment, you might want to say, I want to, all of the alerts messages sent to Slack or sent to Teams or any other third-party tools, it is doable as well. Yeah. So once you deploy it, you can log into the Sidekick web UI, and the default username password is admin. So once you log in, you can see the nice graph to show you what's happening. So for example, from here, you can see total how many events we captured, how many errors, how many notices. And if you want to drill down the details of where are the sources, it could be the syscalls, the priority, or different tags. And then from the UI, you can also have an events tab. So all the logs you can see from the command line, it will present it here. I personally, I love this because from the command line, you can see all the same color. You can easily to identify it's a problem or no. So this is a pretty nice. It gives you from which host name is a priority, it's an error, or it's just a notice, or it's a debug. Yeah. And then with the extend Falco, you can extend the Falco outputs with Falco Sidekick. That's a Falco Sidekick was introduced not only about the web UI, it also allows you to integrate with all different tools listed here. So is there anything you guys say are missing? But it's an open source tool, right? You can customize, you can write. If you do have anything, it's customized by yourself, you do allow it to integrate as well. I think that's about the talking part. Any question? The last one, let me see. If you guys want to learn a little bit more, I do include the link here. So Falco was created by Sysdig. Sysdig was the company behind Falco. before they donated to CNCF as an open source project. So they do have a Falco 101 loaning. I did the loaning like a few months back. It's about 6 hours loaning. It's very good for those of you are interested to learn a little bit more about the container security, cloud security, and with the Falco plugin, how to integrate with AWS Cloud Shell or maybe other cloud plugin, etc. Yeah, I did the loaning sometime back. Yeah. Yeah, before we come back to the labs, just to show you, next week we do have 2 other meetup events. Feel free to join us. One is the AWS Security Meetup on Monday night, and Tuesday night we'll have the Kubernetes Singapore Meetup. Yeah, feel free to join us. I do have the links here. I will share you guys the slides as well. Okay. Any other question? It basically, for the Kubernetes integration, it's via the Kubernetes audit logs. Yes. Network traffic. So literally anything, if you do anything from the containers, you will essentially, behind the scene, you will make a syscall. As long as you make a syscall, it will be captured by Falco. Yeah. No, that's SQL injection. Typically, that's WAF. Web application firewall does the job. Yeah, it's not a Falco that was designed for. Yeah. Yes, yes. Mm. Yeah, this is mainly for the container or cloud security. Yeah. Yeah, I do including a few links here. Feel free to follow me. And now let's continue the labs. I will come back to the lab screen as well. Oops, where is the screen? It's where? No, not here. I went lost. Where is my, no, not here. Not here either. Here. Okay. So you guys can still see. So this time it took 90 minutes, just under 20 minutes. So by end of the script, you should be able to say, so the total time to build the EKS cluster 20 minutes. So now we got the EKS cluster running, so we can continue the rest of the labs on how to deploy Falco. You just follow the documentation. Yeah, you should be able to. So I will show you how to do it as well. So now we are at here. We already deployed so we are at page 8. So we already created the EKS cluster. So the next step here is you can verify to see if the nodes is running. So if I do the Kubernetes kubectl get nodes, you can see I do have a node running. I only have one node, yeah, for the purpose of the testing. I don't need like a few more nodes. So it was running 1.24. I always running the latest version. And also I have do you guys know the CSI? So container storage interface. So the CSI also enabled by default. So if you create your own cluster, just to enable the CSI, you might have, it takes some time. If you read the official documentation page, you might have went to lost open all different tabs. So I also created the automation, CSI enable. So part of my automation, I also have the CSI driver enabled. So if you do the kubectl or get the storage class, you can see I added another storage class. It's called EBS-SC. That's the EBS CSI. So it has been enabled. And part of the deployment, I also deployed a sample database. So you can see the bottom of the screen, that's the sample database, PostgreSQL sample database. It is also running. it's add-on. It's not deployed by default. You need manually to enable it. It's actually pretty complex. So that's why I created the script. Let me show you. If you go to the GitHub page, so the first one is the one we are using today. So from here, so you can see I do have multiple scripts. No, did I click the wrong one? No, it should be second one. Sorry, yeah, eks-casa, okay. And from here, you got the CSI enable. So that's why I want to make the fully automated, how to enable the CSI driver add-on. And you also need to install additional stuff here. And if you are interested to see how the eks-deploy works, so basically just run the eks-ctl create a cluster, and then followed by CSI enable, followed by pg deploy, that's PostgreSQL deploy. We enable the PostgreSQL, we install the PostgreSQL database as well, part of the automation. So now we got the cluster running, we got a sample database also deployed. So now we are going to install a Falco. So how to deploy Falco? You just copy the whole command. So we are now at page 10. So you paste the command here and press enter. So we will add the Falco security helm chart, and then we do an update. And once we do the update, the next command is doing the install. It was a helm install command, but I noticed that when I copy the install command to the command Cloud Shell, it doesn't work very well. So I changed the script. And the script was from the GitHub page. If I show you here, Falco deploy, you can see it just run the helm install command. So let me paste the command here. We're going to deploy Falco here. It only takes about a few seconds. And the Falco will be installed in the separate namespace. And if you want to monitor, if I say kubectl get pods, if you watch the status, you will see we're going to create a few pods here. Yeah, you might initially notice the error because it wasn't created. There is an order. You need to have the Redis first, but it wasn't make that smart. So it will try to launch and then realize Redis is not ready, but later they will try again, it will be successful. Yeah. So shortly it will becomes running and it becomes ready status. Once it becomes ready status, you can start to continue the labs. So if you want to see what's inside, let's see if it's running yet. So it's inside, yeah, it's all up running now. Yeah, 69 seconds ago. We do have a few pods running, Falco and falco-sidekick-ui, etc. So now we move to the next step. You already verified the pods are up running. So you can paste the command here. You can see all of my pods are up running and also ready status. So we can continue to the next step. So if you want to monitor here, that's the column you need to verify. Make sure all of these are running and ready. And then we can try to check the events. So the first event, we copy this command, paste it here, and then press enter. So you notice here, sometimes the copy doesn't work. It comes with bash, suppose there is a space, but you want. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't work very well. So yeah, I try to fix most of this. This one I haven't fixed. Just be aware, okay? I will update the document later. So what we need to do is instead of you copy the whole 3 line, you just copy 1 line by 1 line. Okay, if you copy this line first, now it should be good. You got the space correctly here, and then copy the second line. Yeah, I will fix the documentation to make sure the copy paste it is all good. So now it should be good. There is a space. Oh yes. Well, still not very good. I need to fix this later. Yeah, but for now, if you guys notice, there is for example here, we need to put the space here. But it's mainly the copy paste doesn't work very well. And once you are ready, press enter. So it will show you. So basically, we log into the shell, the bottom of the screen. We log into the PostgreSQL pod shell, and now we exit. Make sure you exit. We're not supposed to do anything. We're just to see if we check the events. The event was captured by a Falco. So we exit. How to verify? You just run the command kubectl logs. So now, if I run this command, we verify the logs. You can see we capture the logs. I slightly don't prefer to read this. It's just hard. From the UI, shortly I will show you. But definitely we capture everything. So for example, it's a notice. It's not an error. We just notice a shell was spawned in the container. And then you can see the details like what image was using, what are the container ID, what pods was used. So you capture all these details. And for you to take actions, if you see some suspicious activity, you can take some actions. So the idea is the Falco was the threat detection engine. We detect the problems, we alert you. How to take action, it's up to you. No, it doesn't prevent. How to prevent? Let's say you detect some issues, you want to stop the container, for example. It is doable, but you need to, once you detect the problem, alert, you receive the alert maybe from a Slack or PagerDuty, and then you can run for example, Lambda function to trigger something to destroy the container. Yeah. Okay. So that means the Falco is in action. We are working to detect the problems. The next event is we are trying to create the binary, to put a binary to the /bin, which is will trigger an error. So let me copy this command here. Now you will see, oh, actually the copy also got problems. Where is the problem? There is a space here. Oh yes. I tested yesterday. If you download the PDF, open, it should work. But if you copy from the browser, actually, not very good. So there is a space here now. So we will see, we checked another event. If you go back to the last command, the logs command, you should be able to see another event. This time it's the error actually, where it's, so error file, you can see error file below a known directory, because you are creating something from my bin directory. That is supposed not allowed. Yeah, you guys are all good? So basically in the testing, we just check the 2 events. And we notice from the logs, we already captured the 2 of the events. And the next one is we are going to enable the Falco via the sidekick-ui. So how to do it? First of all, you need to patch the ClusterIP to LoadBalancer. So I copy this command and then paste the command here. This command should work. Yep. Just remember, when you finish this, you need about 2 to 3 minutes to wait the cloud LoadBalancer ready. If you immediately go to the next command, you got the link here, but you can't access. Before the cloud LoadBalancer is ready, you can't access. So now I'll paste the command here. So it will give you the URL. Oh no, the command also doesn't work. And I need a space here. What else? Okay, now just remember, unless you download the document to your local machine to open with other tool, it should work. So I copy this command and I'm going to open new tab. And then I paste the link here. This is the falco-falcosidekick-ui web UI. So typically it takes about 2 to 3 minutes. If it doesn't log in, give you some error, you just wait a little bit while. And then it will give you the screen. You need to type the username admin and the password also admin. Click login. So now we logged in. Okay. This is exactly the same one we saw from the dash from my slides. Yeah, I took a screenshot. You do have which source we got and what are the priorities, what tags. You can feel free to try a little bit more stuff, and it will capture more events. For now, we only capture 2 because we only tried it twice. And you can, if you move to the bottom of the screen, it will say which rules pick the events. The first rule is a terminal shell in the container. The second one is write something to the bin directory. And towards the bottom of the screen, you do have the timeline. If you do have a lot of the events, it will be all listed here. Comparing to the command line, I do love this dashboard. Yeah, it is nice. I can filter. You can filter based on the error or based on the source, etc. Yeah, we are actually well ahead of the schedule. Are you guys all good? So we are almost towards the end. I actually, last night, I just added an additional stuff for you guys to learn. I know you guys are so good. You guys can complete the labs very quickly. So I added a little bit more stuff. The first one is, if you want, you can try remove basically helm uninstall. You can uninstall Falco, and then you can try do it again if you want to. How to remove the whole cluster? That will including the Falco. That's //EE. That's the Event Engine. Event Engine, that's the on-demand lab platform provided by AWS. You're not going to be charged by. You don't want to use your personal account, right? And also, the other good news is, if you guys do need the access on demand, maybe for your customer demo, maybe for your loading, you can send me an email. I can request access for you. I mean, AWS provided access, which is good. Why not? I also, from time to time, I ask my friend to give me the lab access. I will try to learn to do something. Yeah. Okay. And this is one option. You can clean up the environment. You can do it again. Or I added additional stuff last night. So you can try this is a bonus workshop. Yeah, it's for you to learn how to back up the containers, how to secure the containers. That's from a different angle, different tool. So from here, you can see how to sign up a eks-casa, account, how to register your EKS cluster, how to create a policy, how to run the backups. So I can show you. You guys all completed the Falco. Yeah, all good. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, let's continue. Yeah, since we still got like a 45 minutes. So I will show you the bonus lab. you guys see the link, CG, that's CloudCasa guide. So you click the link, it will launch another PDF guide. So from here, you can skip the first few part because the first few part, that's exactly the same how to access the AWS Event Engine account. So since we're already here, we can go straight to sign up a free CloudCasa account. So from here, so if I click here is, there is a link. You can click this link. So it will take you to this page. You just provide your email address and then your password. There is no payment details asked. You don't need to worry about anything. So it's completely free. You can try. And once you've done all of the fill out all the details, you click accept, and then I'm not a robot. And also, you need to have the captcha verified, and then you click create. Basically, you can log in. You can't log in yet. It will send you an email to verify. Once you complete the verification, you can click sign in. Okay, now it's loading. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what's happening, but hopefully you guys can log in as well. So once you log in, so now if I'm going to, I need to open that guide again. Let me open the guide here. So I jump to, so we already registered. I logged in, and once you logged in, under the configurations cluster, so what we can do is we can register the EKS cluster. Life is a lot easier. Since everyone nowadays using the managed Kubernetes like EKS or other Kubernetes, why not use the managed backup, manage the DR? That's where CloudCasa was used for. So for example, you might give the cluster name, let's say DKS workshop. Okay, I just give a name. So all we need to do from here, how to register the cluster, you just give the cluster name to identify which cluster you're going to register to CloudCasa. And all you need to do is you click register. So once you click register, it will pop up a command here. Basically, it's a YAML file. You just run the kubectl of the YAML file. You copy this command. This is a copy button. Once you copy this command, you can go back to the Cloud Shell. Where is my Cloud Shell? It's over here. Here. So you paste the command here, and then press enter. So how to register the cluster? It's pretty simple. Basically, you just go to from a cluster, you register, add a cluster. It will give you you give a cluster name, and then we will give you the command. Once the command running from the kubectl, the command line, it will install a lightweight agent. Once the agent is installed, you can monitor, you can see the pods should be up running shortly. So basically, it will create a namespace. It's called CloudCasa-io, and then there is a Kube agent will be deployed. The Kube agent, it takes probably a few seconds. And once the agent is up running, it will be showing active from the dashboard. So now the pod is initializing. So shortly it becomes running, and then pass the readiness check, it will becomes running. So now it's already running. So once it's running, if you switch back, if now I'm going to switch back to the web console, you should be able to see installation successful. Now that means I register my cluster to the Cloud Console. So the idea is you can manage the Kubernetes. You might have EKS running from this region, from other region, from all different zones. You don't really want to manage it separately. So the Cloud Console just register all of your cluster. Then you can create a policy to back them up from the central dashboard. Yeah. So if I click close and save, you will see your cluster will be up here. And where? This is my cluster. It's showing active. So that means we already registered successfully. Once you register successfully, the next step, if I come back to the document, you can see we registered the cluster successfully. We added the cluster, and then we install the agent successfully. We verified all of these are up running. It is showing successful. And the next step is you can create a policy. So the policy is how long you want to keep the backup, how often you want to do the backup. So go back here. It's on the configuration policies. From here, you can add a policy. I do have a few policies already here, but you can create a new policy. Let's say EKS workshop policy. You can choose to say, I want to run the backup every hour. Or you can also add a daily, weekly, monthly, or custom schedule. But I just leave it one every hour, keep it 30 days, add the schedule, and then you can click create a policy. So I already created the policy. So go back to the document. So you can see I added the schedule. Now I can define a backup. What do you want to back up? So for my case, application is the most important part. The cluster part, it's not a big deal. The whole cluster is gone. I can spin up a new cluster, but your application is the key. So now we can define a policy, say, from under the protection, there is a backup. You can click the backup. Now we are going to define a backup. What do you want to back up? How long you want to keep them? So define a backup. I can say the backup name, let's say EKS workshop backup. And which cluster you want to back up. You might have dozens or even hundreds of clusters all listed here. You can choose which cluster you want to back them up. I choose my cluster, EKS workshop, click next. Do you want to back up the whole full cluster? I don't really need to back up the rest of the stuff as I mentioned earlier. I just need to back up my application. In this case, my PostgreSQL, that's what we need to back up. You can also choose the Falco, for example. But for my case, yeah, I just choose the PostgreSQL. And how do you want to back? Do you want to just do snapshot or snapshot and copy? This is a difference. When you only do snapshot, if my cluster is done, my whole data center is gone. You can't recover. So by doing the snapshot and the copy, not only we do a snapshot, we also send another copy to the object store S3. Can be from different region, different geo, which is more reliable, more safe. In case some disaster happen, you can always have another copy somewhere. Okay, so I leave this snapshot and copy. Do you want to delete the snapshot immediately after copy? I'm actually, personally, I slightly prefer to keep the copy. The reason is I want to do the fast recover. In case something happens, I have a local copy, I can do the fast recovery. Once you make all of these selection, you can click next. Now you got the option to select which policy you want to use. I might just use the new policy I just created. I want to do every hour, do the backup, I keep it 30 days, and then click next. And you got everything ready, you click create. So now I got the policy also created. So now it depends on it will be automatically scheduled the backup every hour. It will be running snapshot and then copy to the object storage. But if you don't want to wait, actually there is a run now button. You can click run now, and you do have the option to do the on-demand backup immediately. It allows you to choose the different settings for the initial, how long you want to keep. For the on-demand backup, I just leave it 7 days, click run. So now the job kicked off. Where to check the details of the job? You can go back to the dashboard. You can click the dashboard or click the CloudCaster icon here. So go to the dashboard, and under activities, you can see the new job has been launched here. So you can see the new job is running on the right-hand side. You can see here. So the new job is running. Not only is showing here, you also have a more visibility. What I mean more visibility, you see what exactly happening. If you click the job details here, you can say here, you can say activity log. So it gives you some idea. We are running snapshot before copy. So that's what we choose to do. We do the snapshot and then copy to S3. And then how many resources we back them up? 33 resources. So all of your individual spec artifacts will be discovered and we will capture it here. In case something happens, even the whole namespace is gone. You can recover full in place. You can also clone to a new namespace. Or you might just somebody deleted secrets or configure maps or service account. It will cause something wrong. So we also allow you to recover the individual spec artifacts. So the job might take about 1 or 2 minutes to finish. What do you guys think? The container backups life is a lot easier with the managed backup option. It also comes with the managed storage. So as we talk about it here, we only take about a few minutes. We can register the cluster, we'll configure backup policy, define a backup. And by now, the job should already finish. Yeah? There are some multiple options. There are free open source tools. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. Valero is a free open source tool, but it's completely command line driven. You don't have the visibility. You don't have the multi-class management, all these cool stuff. The tool can be used for migration too. So Valero is more, I would say, if you guys have, if the customer have the specialized team, you do have the skill sets, why not you try the free Valero tool? But if you don't want your highly skilled guys to do the backup, to manage the backup, this is a really great tool, easy to use. No, it's not an open source, but they do cover, provide the free option. Free option, regardless of how many nodes you're running, how many clusters, only cover the size of the data, 100 gigabytes. That's a lot. So feel free to give it a try. Yeah. And by now the job already finished. How long it take? You can also verify the PV details, the persistent volume claim. So you can see this is my PostgreSQL database. We are doing the CSI snapshot. And the PV details, you can see, you do have the deduplication compression built in. That's why you see the transfer data only 7 megabytes. But my PVC size is 1 gigabyte. If you go back to the dashboard, you can see the review section. You can see the total time. It took like 2 minutes and 5 seconds. So we do have the backup job already done. Do you guys have any questions? I tried all different tools. This is the best one. Yeah, I tried. Makes life a lot easier. Yeah, if you want to restore, I will show you the restore. The documentation, the level guide, I haven't finished yet. How to restore, I haven't completed yet. But if you use the same link, I will complete that one. So we do have a backup here. You can see here. So there is a backup. There is a blue box here. That's showing you the last few completed backup. So now you got the restore option here. So if you click the restore here, it will take you to the screen. This is the best part. If you want to restore to a different cluster, different cloud, it is also doable. Mm. This is the best part. Part of the restore, as long as you register, you add the cloud account, it allows you to automatically spin up a new cluster. This is the best cool part. So let me show you. For example, if you want to recover here, you can choose any one of the copy. Because I got the snapshot, I also copy to the S3 bucket. So you can choose any one of the copy for the restore. And then click next. How do you want to restore? Do you want to restore your just the PostgreSQL? Or you can select the individual resource. Let's say you might just want to restore, say, the deployment or the configure map. You can choose the individual resource to the recovery. You can also choose just restore everything. Let's say I want to restore everything, clone to a new namespace. So click next. You can see here, part of the restore, it allows you to create a new cluster, or you can restore to an original cluster. So if you choose the create a new cluster here, it allows you to choose the three top cloud. So Amazon EKS, Azure AKS, and also GKE cluster. So you can automatically spin up a new cluster. So that means when you are thinking about the DR solution, you don't need to have the cluster keep running. Only when the disaster happens, you launch a new cluster. Hmm? Like standby. You don't need a standby. Just before you, because if you keep running as a standby, it will cost you money, right? Only when the disaster happens, you launch a new cluster and then start the restore all automatically. So including install the agent first. So first of all, you launch a new cluster and then install the agent and then do the restore. Okay. So for now, I don't have I don't want to spin up the other cluster. I can choose restore to my original cluster. So you choose my cluster here. You can choose to restore to a new namespace. Let's say I want to add a dash clone. And then click next. And click next. You can give a name, let's say clone restore. And then you click restore. We will restore everything to the new cluster. And before I do that, let me monitor. Yeah, we're still monitoring here. So click restore. You can see the job will be showing up here shortly. Yeah, the restore job is running. And if you go back to the command line, you will see yong-postgresql-clone, the namespace has been created. Now we will restore everything to the new cluster. This is a pretty cool. If you guys are using any one of the Kubernetes cluster, yeah, this is a tool you can try, give it a try. Including everything, actually. 33. I did not backup, I only backup the PostgreSQL pod containers, yeah. So you do have the granularity to select what do you want to back them up. Yeah. It is doable, yeah. It is also doable. So for example, yeah, while we're talking, the container should be up running shortly. And if I go back to the dashboard here, from my cluster here, I do register a lot of different clusters. So like Alibaba or Huawei, any cluster, any Kubernetes cluster can be used. Even your on-premise, so you got an OpenShift. I also have an OpenShift cluster here. Rocks, that's running on IBM Cloud, but if you're running on-premise, also doable. Or maybe Rancher, maybe Tanzu, it is also supported. Yeah. So the idea is with the right tool makes life easier. Not only do the backup, do the granular restore, you can also move around. Could be from on-premise to the cloud. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yes. You mean from the Cloud Casa web console? Yes. Once you restore to the IBM cluster, from the cluster, you can see the services are running over there. But that depends on your service, how you design it. Let's say you got a 3-tier application, you got your web tier, your middle tier, a business logic, your database tier. If you Microsoft. It depends on what you are migrating. If you say you want to migrate one of the services to other cloud or other cluster, it will be migrated. It is running over there. But how to connect it to the you typically have your load balancer to update your DNS record to point it to the new endpoint. It's outside of that. So the tool is allow you to easily to migrate from one cluster to the other. Could be one cloud to the other. No. Yeah. Okay. And by now, yeah, the cluster should be up running. Oh, no, there's, let me see, what's the problem? Yeah, probably the node does not have enough capacity. So if you check the logs, you can see, where is the logs? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the capacity. Yeah, it's a capacity, yeah, insufficient CPU. So just to show you the restore process, it is working. Somehow the auto scaling wasn't kicked off. So from here, I do have the auto scaling actually configured. Let's say eks-deploy. So suppose it should be, my main node is 1, the maximum is 3, it should be automatically kick off, but it wasn't. Yeah. But once you add another node, it should be up running completely. What do you guys think? So when you're running the containers, a few important parts, you need to secure your containers, right? You need to back up your containers. You need to think about the disaster cover for your containers. And the other part I haven't talked about is Cloud Casa actually also have the security tab here. This is also pretty cool. So Falco was used to the runtime security, but this security is to do the container scan, configuration scan, network scan, CIS benchmark scan. That is on top of that, it's a different approach. So how to do that? You just configure a scan job. So let me show you. Yeah, we do have like 10 plus minutes. Let me show you. So I just add a new scan job. Let's say I want to scan my EKS workshop cluster. I want to scan to see what's happening. I select my cluster. You can also optionally scan your AWS cloud account. So that means to scan your whole AWS cloud account to see if there is any problems. You can increase the security postures. So I just leave it the Kubernetes cluster EKS for now. Click next. You can run based on your schedule. You can run every hour or every day or whatever you configure. Let me just leave it as on demand. I can run now. And once you click the job, it will do the container scan, security scan, network scan, CIS benchmark scan, and then give you the details. This is basically give you more insight, more visibility into the Kubernetes cluster. You do have the container is up running, but do you know how secure your container? No idea. So with this security scan, it will present to you all the details to say, here is the things, what you can do to improve the security. So once the job is finished, so let me go back to the dashboard. You can see there is a job is running. So this is not a backup job, it's a security scan job. What it is doing is it will scan the whole cluster to identify if there is any problems. And then once the job is finished, you will see the dashboard. And you can click into each of the problems. It will give you more details of what's the issues, how you can fix it. So I have to wait the job finish before I can show you the details. Let me see if I have an existing job here. This is an existing job. So basically this is the dashboard looks like. But this cluster I already destroyed. So, but the idea is it will give you the different items here. The dashboard to show you the container scan, how many passed, how many failed the security scan, and how, if you click the security scan, container scan, you can see how many in critical situation. If you click the details, it will pop up the details. Let's say, for example, your metrics server, you should know, and there is a link here. Let me pick up one. Let me pick up the first one. You can click the link. It will launch the detailed instructions. What's the problems here? How you can, this is one of the CVE, the common vulnerabilities database. And if we get, this is a problem. What you can do to increase the security. Okay. And you do have some, this is just one of the options. You can filter by severity here, or configuration scan. What's the problem about the configuration? What about the CIS benchmark scan results? And what about the network scan? Yeah. So for the network scan, I also have the 13 critical events listed here. So for example, you should not allow execute into the containers. It was identified as a high severity. Attack might run the command inside the container, which becomes a threat. So yeah, there are a lot of some other suggestions as well. Okay. Let me see if the job is finished. Yeah, it's still running. Typically, it takes about 3 or 4 minutes. Yeah, go ahead. Including the persistent volume claim. And the manifest everything. Yes, yes. That is correct. It's very important. You talk about the manifest file, you might use the GitOps, the tool, the source code, it's already there. But the moment when you have the persistent volume claims there, how you're going to protect the persistent volumes? You can, your source code, your YAML file is still there. But if your data is gone, with just the persistent the YAML file, it doesn't restore your application. So that's why you still need the backup. The other thing I can think of is the Kubernetes cluster keeps have a new version every 4 months. You have a new version. Your YAML file works perfect for the 1.25. When 1.26 is introduced, it might start to break, right? Yeah, deprecation of API, new API introduced. So with the tool, allow it to mask these complexity. I do. Mm-hmm. By default, it's the managed storage from our CloudCasa. It was using AWS S3, but you can choose bring your own storage. That means any S3 compatible storage can be used. Yeah, you can configure. Yeah, it is customizable. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, back to the questions. I forgot to mention is you got a 1.22 maybe running. You want to upgrade to 1.25. All the cloud providers, the managed OpenShift, the managed Kubernetes, it doesn't allow you to skip the version upgrade. So with the tool, I do the backup 1.22, I restore to 1.25. Life is a lot easier. Yeah, you can simplify the upgrade maintenance. Yes. So basically the tool, it understands the API changes between different versions. When I do the backup, I back up from 1.22, I restore to 1.25, I make sure it is working. Yeah. Any other questions? You got the error, you got a notice. How does it decide it goes under it is actually, there is a long configuration file. Yeah, you can customize. There is a configuration file. It's a YAML file. You can customize what exactly. Maybe some of the other people thought it's an error. You don't think it's an error. You can customize. You can choose whatever is relevant to you. Yeah. I just leave it as a default. I did not choose to customize anything. Yeah. Yeah, as I said, you do have the access for 3 days. The lab. Yeah, feel free to try it again. And if you guys do have any questions, feel free to let me know. Yeah. And for on-demand access, drop me an email. Hopefully, I can get the access from AWS team. It's all right. It will automatically destroy. If you want to try it, you can try it. How to remove? Yeah, basically that's another command you can remove. Yeah. But you leave it. It doesn't cause any troubles. Yeah. And the lab team will automatically refresh the cleanup. We got a few more minutes before the next session. Do you guys have any other questions? Yeah, that one wasn't finished yet. So once the job is finished, basically you can see the scan job under the scan history. Yeah, if no other questions, yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us today. Yeah, hope it is useful to you. Yeah. All right, thanks guys. Yeah, feel free to join me next week. We do have two meetups. So I'm helping co-organizing security meetup. I'm also organizing the Kubernetes meetup. Yeah, join us. Yeah, if you're interested next week. Is it offline? Or? It's offline. Yeah, the first one at the AWS office, Capital Square. This one at the Google developer space. Yeah. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a good one. Yeah, there is another workshop also here. Yeah. If you guys continue, just stay here.